brewmasters like Derek are changing the way we think about beer. Next on In Focus. Hello and welcome to In Focus, a weekly public affairs program that looks at topics of interest to residents of Orange County. In Focus is produced by students enrolled in the digital media program at Golden West College. I'm Sandra Roby, your host of In Focus. A history of prohibition and commercials filled with images of wild parties has given beer a sordid reputation. But in the last few decades, brewmasters have been trying to change our views about beer to show how it can be more than a beverage to the masses. It can be an art. There are many types of beers out there, but where does beer come from? How is it made? Here with me today is brewmaster Derek to discuss the background of his work in microbrewing. Thank you for joining me, Derek.
Hi, pleasure to be here.
So now, what is a brewmaster and how does one become a brewmaster?
There's a couple different ways you can do that. You can take some extension courses through colleges across the country, even in Germany, or you can, have a passion for it and apprentice with somebody that's already done that and kind of work your way up.
So now, what was your path?
I worked my way up.
You really did? Now,
Yes.
Are there local community colleges or continuation education programs that somebody can enroll in?
Not so much on the community level, but more on the UC level.
And the UC level?
Yeah.
And so now, where did you do your apprenticeship?
At home on the stove.
At home on the stove?
I started homebrewing and then I worked with a brewmaster.
So as a self-taught brewmaster, how did you know when things were going right or going wrong? And where did you even begin?
Trial and error.
Trial and error?
Pick flavors that you like and kind of go for that.
So now, what kind of recipes did you start from? I mean, I know we all have a general idea of what goes into beer, but it still is a mystery and it's science.
Yeah, usually starting with homebrewing, you want to get a kit, and that usually has a base recipe already set up for you.
Now, we were chatting a little bit before the show, so I know that you have a special little visual that you can share with us about what actually goes into beer. So why don't you show us a little bit of that first, okay? So now, this is your self-designed artwork all
Yes.
about beer. You are
Yes.
you are in the deep end. You are really in love with this.
I do have a
project.
passion for it, yes.
So tell us about what we've got here.
Well, I have hop cones here.
And how does that start? Is that a base for the beer?
It's one of the four main ingredients for
Okay.
making beer. And then the malted barley, which is the grain, which would be the base malts that you use.
Okay.
With the blue is the water, and then we have yeast.
And yeast. And those are the basic...
Those are the four basic ingredients for making beer.
For every kind of beer?
Every kind of beer.
So now, is that the same with a wheat ale or an apple ale?
Yes, you're all going to start with basically the same thing, mainly the two-row barley.
Okay, well now you've brought some beers for us to take a
Yes,
look at
I
here.
did.
So why don't we start popping some of those open so we can get the aroma
Okay.
of what it is that you're doing.
All right, I try to keep it as local as possible with this, so
Okay.
we'll start with this one here. Hefeweizen, so more along the lines of a traditional German style.
Now,
so
how did you pronounce this again?
It's a Hefeweizen,
Hefeweizen.
Yes.
And do you know what that means in German?
wheat.
It means
or
wheat.
Yeast.
Yeast,
Yeah.
okay. So now, what kind of glasses are you using here?
This is as close as I could get for this to traditional style glass for a Hefeweizen.
Is that like
so
a Pilsner kind of a thing?
kind of, usually a little straighter would be the glass that you would want to use for
Okay,
it.
so now we can't sip this, but
no,
we can...
but you can get the aroma off it.
Oh.
So this
Wow.
particular style, you just pour it till the foam comes up, and then you just keep topping it off as you go.
Okay.
But the more head you have on top, the more aroma you can be able to pull from it. This one, you might get a little bit of clove and some banana from it.
Now, are all these beers supposed to be served cold?
There are certain temperatures that you want to use. Between 38 and 44 degrees optimal for serving craft beer. The colder it gets, the more it's going to numb your palate, and you're not going to be able to taste it.
Okay, so let's move on to the next one here. So this is a nice golden color, the wheat
That's
Hefeweizen.
the Hefeweizen. This is a brown ale. So there's going to be roasted malts and darker grains in this one to get the color.
Oh,
and
that is beautiful.
roasty. You might pick up some chocolate and
Oh,
and
I can
maybe
smell the
some
chocolate.
tobacco from that as
Now,
well.
can you try the other ones for us? Because we are running out of time quickly
Certainly.
here. We don't have enough
Okay.
time to sample and flavor all of these beautiful
And,
beers.
So here's an IPA.
IPA.
local.
Now, what does IPA stand for?
It's an India Pale Ale. So
India Pale Ale.
way back in the day when England was the colony in India, They would overhop the beers to add the preservation for the beer so they would last for the troops.
Derek, this is beautiful. We are not going to have time for this last sampling, but it's time for us to wrap it up here.
Okay.
So we thank you so much for being here. That went
Cheers.
too fast. Not enough time to savor our beers, but I want you to keep in mind that there are over 150 different microbreweries in Southern California. If you'd like to experience one for yourself, visit Derek at Newport Brewing Company in Newport Beach. We're out of time, but I would like to thank my guest Derek for joining me today on In Focus.